3rd IATEFL International Conference, and we're here with Carol Lethaby from San Francisco, and she will tell us something more about herself.
Yeah, I'm Carol Lethaby. I live in San Francisco. I work at the New School online MA TESOL program. I also work at UC Berkeley Extension on a teacher training certificate there, and I'm also a materials writer.
That's really nice. And your talk is tomorrow, isn't
yes.
it? Yeah.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes, I hope so. I've got the final touches to do always.
Okay. What will you be talking about tomorrow?
Right. Well, basically tomorrow I'll be talking about cognitive load theory, which is the idea of how we make things difficult for learners or how we make things easier for learners. So I'll be looking particularly at a couple of ideas from English language teaching, which are the idea of discovery learning and what it is about discovery learning that can be difficult for learners and how we can make that easier for them. And I'll also be looking at the idea of more explicit instruction and how it's different from discovery learning and how that relates in terms of difficultness for learners as well. So it's a lot from kind of educational psychology based on the work of John Sweller and his colleagues in Australia from the 80s and 90s, but really looking at how we can apply it to English language teaching. That's obviously what we're interested in.
Is it part of a project that you're working on, or your practical and your experience from the classroom?
Yes, it's something that I've been working on in the last few years particularly with a colleague in Canada, where we're very interested in evidence-based teaching and looking at what we know about what works in the classroom based on evidence, and how we can apply that to English language teaching, because a lot of it has been applied in other subject areas, for example in mathematics and in science in particular. But a lot of these ideas, we haven't really taken them and gone with them in English language teaching. And that's what I'm very, very interested in, these applications to the teaching of English.
Sounds very interesting.
Yes.
And what is your connection to IATEFL?
I've been a member of IATEFL for many years now. I try to come as much as possible. It's always such a wonderful gathering to see people who I see from just from these conferences, really, from all over the world, and just to meet up with them again, make connections, talk about work. My husband hates to talk about work with me, so it's great to come here and be able to really geek out about English language teaching. So yeah, that's one of the main things.
Have you been to any sessions so far that you enjoyed?
Yes, I've been to several sessions. Yesterday I went to one about ageism, and I found that very interesting, especially as a materials writer. I think that we very often don't think about how we are promoting ageist ideas through the pictures and our representations of older people. I think that's very, very important.
What kind of materials are you working on?
I have done a variety of books. I've done some kind of general English language teaching books. And for example, I've done a book called English ID, which is particularly for Spanish and Portuguese speaking learners. I've also done books for teenagers, particularly in Mexico, because I lived many years in Mexico. I lived about 14 years in Mexico and still spend about 3 months a year in Mexico. So that's a big focus of mine too, what's going on in Latin America in teaching.
Are you enjoying the conference so far?
Very much, very much. It's very tiring and very intense. I'm sure everyone says that, but you certainly feel after 3 days that you've had a very valuable experience, or 4 days actually, isn't it?
Yeah. What do you plan to follow tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow I do have to kind of watch my, get my talk, just practice it through one more time, but I'll probably be going to the plenary session. And what I love too is that, if you if you want to, you can watch the plenary sessions online, which
yes.
is fantastic as well.
Yeah.
If it's raining and I don't want to go out, I can just watch it online and then come in here later and pick up something.
What about evening events or SIG presentations? Have you been to any of them?
No, I haven't really yet. I've been a lot of times so far in meetings and just meeting up with people, which I think are very valuable. I feel, 4 days seems like a long time, but when you start actually going to see people and networking, exactly, the time goes very quickly.
Yeah. So, what would you like to share with us for the end of the interview?
Oh, please come to my talk tomorrow. I know it's in the afternoon on a Thursday. I believe it's at 3:25 or something like that. But I hope you'll find it interesting. There should be something interesting for everyone, because I think the idea of what makes something difficult or easy for learners is very interesting, and especially when we know we have evidence for what makes something difficult, and we have evidence for how we can make things easier for learners. So I think there's something for everyone. So please come tomorrow.
Thank you very much for joining us today and for taking time to do this interview. This was Carol Lethaby, and stay tuned for more interviews from IATEFL Liverpool 2019.